Why are Portuguese butchers being kidnapped in South Africa on a massive scale?
An obvious disqualifier is anyone who's been found guilty or has been implicated in serious ethical or misconduct.
The MK puts impeached former judge John Hlophe's name in the hat for the Judicial Service Commission. And a lion is on the loose in Limpopo. We're tracking it for you. Hello, I'm Jane Dutton. It's good to have you with us.
This is Eyewitness News.
A Portuguese South African butchery owner was rescued in Soweto last night in a clandestine operation by police, JMPD and private security. The 41-year-old victim was kidnapped from his business premises in Roodepoort a week ago. Police also arrested a 39-year-old man believed to be out on bail. Those kidnapping victims are the lucky ones who've been found alive.
Kidnapping for ransom. It's not something unusual in South Africa and specifically Gauteng. But there is a growing concern about a recent spate of kidnappings that are happening in this province, where Portuguese South African nationals, and specifically butchery owners, are being targeted in a spate of kidnappings since last year in January. Eyewitness News can inform you that there have been 20 butchery owners in the province of Gauteng that have been kidnapped. In some instances, they have been released. In some instances, they have been rescued by the anti-kidnapping task team. And we know of at least one of those individuals or victims that was murdered. The ransom amounts range from 400,000 to 3.5 million rand. And at least 9 of the cases that EWN is aware of, 10 million rand ransom demand was asked for by the suspects or the kidnappers in many of these cases. The families are complying. As of last week, there were 3 kidnappings of butchery owners in a space of 72 hours. Most of those victims have not yet been found, while the kidnappers are in negotiations with the family. Now, Gauteng itself, as I said earlier, it's nothing unusual for kidnappings to happen, but there's been a recent spike in cases. Last year alone, there were more than 2,000 cases of kidnappings recorded in the province of Gauteng. Now, that accounts for almost half of the total number of kidnappings in the entire country, which is just close to 5,000 cases in total.
Corrupt police officers are often involved. Adolf Nisi, a constable from Bramley Police Station, was arrested along with 6 others and faced charges of kidnapping, extortion, attempted murder and robbery with aggravating circumstances after a Portuguese butchery owner was kidnapped and rescued in October east of Johannesburg. And even if you pay the ransom, the victim's safety cannot be guaranteed. This man's 2 children were kidnapped in 2021. Despite paying the money demanded for them, their bodies were found a few days later. They had been shot assassination style.
And while in many of the cases, kidnapping ransom demands are quite excessive, and we're talking about anything from 5 to 10 million rand, there are sort of copycat kidnapping syndicates that are starting to pop up in certain parts of the province. And these copycat syndicates are kidnapping people for far less and demanding far less. In some instances, we're aware of 5 to 10,000 rand being asked for in ransom demands. And these are affecting people, ordinary South Africans, and not necessarily the higher or middle to higher class South Africans or business owners or executives for that matter.
Many in South Africa are still aghast at the size of the new cabinet announced on Sunday evening, knowing that the more ministers there are, the more perks will be available and ultimately abused. The DA's Helen Ziller told us she hopes DA cabinet members won't take ministerial perks, and so do we, as we pay for them. The new Minister of Correctional Services, the Freedom Front Plus's Pieter Groenewald, has said he will not operate with a blue light brigade. But it's not that simple. When a minister assumes office, they have to adhere to the security policy issued by the State Security Agency.
Well, I certainly hope they won't take the full benefits of that ministerial handbook because they're absolutely absurd. I hope that they will pay for their own lights and water. I hope that they won't take 2 ministerial residences, one in Tshwane and one in Cape Town. I hope they won't go running around in blue light brigades because that's certainly been our policy for a very long time.
Some Cape Town communities, including Lavender Hill, Lotus River, Ottery, Manenberg and Hanover Park, have been described as war zones following a sudden spike in gang violence over the last few weeks. Several people have been killed in these areas.
And we have brought in additional staff on overtime during their rest days to help stabilize the area. In the past, gangs often had entrenched codes of conduct or unspoken rules that they lived by. But the dynamics have changed significantly with the sudden explosion of younger, newer gangs forming, with members vying with each other for turf and leadership.
Smith also says these gangs have access to mysterious financial backing and firearms, ammunition and drugs. The Umkhonto weSizwe Party has nominated impeached former Judge John Hlophe to represent it on the Judicial Service Commission. It's the same body that took more than a decade to investigate and finalize gross misconduct claims against him when he was the Judge President of the Western Cape High Court, eventually recommending his removal in 2021. If the House approves his nomination, Hlophe, who was impeached by Parliament just 4 months ago, will have a seat on the opposite end of the table to interview candidates for judges' positions. 6 MPs are designated as commissioners to the JSC from the National Assembly and 4 from the National Council of Provinces. The DA has again nominated former State Prosecutor Glynis Breitenbach, while the EFF is also looking to retain its leader, Julius Malema. Judicial watchdog Judges Matter is appealing to the House to elect members of integrity.
An obvious disqualifier is anyone who's been found guilty or has been implicated in serious ethical or misconduct.
The Springbok squad to play Ireland in the first of 2 tests on Saturday has been announced. Coach Rassie Erasmus will field an experienced lineup with 20 World Cup winners in the match day 23, while the starting lineup features 12 players who were involved in last year's Rugby World Cup final. The only 3 players in the team who are not members of that squad are Sasha Feinberg, Ngome Zulu, Salman Murat and Gerard Steenkamp. A lion is on the loose in Mpumalanga. It's reportedly killed many cattle.
The Mpumalanga Tourism and Parks Agency received a complaint that there is a vagrant lion which was spotted at Matsulu Ndumbeni section next to Chulane store. The public is cautioned to stay alert and not to attempt to catch or kill the lion. The ND has dispatched the damage-causing animal DCA team to set up a cage with a bait to catch the lion.
If you see it, don't approach it. But I know that you know that, and I shall see you for more again tomorrow. Thanks for watching.
Eyewitness News, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, log on to ewn.co.za or ewn.mobi.